It's happening again. In his farewell address, President Eisenhower warned us of the rise of the military-industrial complex. In Biden's farewell address, he warned us of the tech-industrial complex. And something super weird happened recently. Poll after poll shows the vast majority of Americans agree AI needs regulation. I mean, currently AI companies are regulated less than a taco cart, which is just insane. And yet, despite this, bizarrely, big tech almost successfully lobbied Congress to ban states from regulating AI entirely for 10 years. 10 years. So what on earth happened? How did they almost pull off something so wildly unpopular? Well, the answer may surprise you. First of all, they're spending a fortune in dark money lobbying, but that's obvious.
The AI industry has more lobbyists in Washington and Brussels than the fossil fuel industry and the tobacco industry combined.
Zuckerberg alone is outspending all of civil society 10 to 1. And what narrative are they pushing with all that money? Fear of China, an AI arms race. But why? Well, it's an old trick to manipulate public opinion. Fear sells. Throughout the Cold War, the military-industrial complex spent a fortune pushing the false narrative that the Soviets were far more advanced than they actually were, which ensured the money from Congress kept flowing. It was called the missile and the bomber gap. They lied and lied and lied again to get bigger and bigger defense contracts. Now, obviously there's some amount of competition between the US and China, but big tech is lying and exaggerating like crazy to terrify Congress into giving them whatever they want. And what they want is fat government contracts and zero democratic oversight. Now it seems like not a day goes by without another big AI company announcing a giant contract with the Department of Defense. But are we actually in a race? Let's go back in time. In January 2025, China challenged years of American AI dominance with the release of DeepSeek R1, wiping more than $1 trillion off the American stock market. Billionaire Mark Andreessen was everywhere claiming that China was now ahead of the US in AI. Well, are they? According to the AI researchers behind AI 2027, there are 3 main pillars that would decide a US-China AI arms race. China, previously thought to be years behind, had potentially closed the gap to mere months. So if China supposedly had their foot on the accelerator, why wouldn't they completely catch up or even surpass the US? China has amazing AI talent, a big infrastructure advantage, and top-notch companies. The answer is that the country that holds the real power over who wins the AI race isn't China or the US. It's Taiwan. The most valuable company in the world right now isn't Microsoft, Google, or Apple. It's NVIDIA, because they are supplying the GPUs, or AI chips, fueling the entire AI race. According to the researchers, the whole AI race comes down to one thing: computing power, also known as compute. AI companies are spending as much as they possibly can on computing power, hundreds of billions of dollars, because the bottleneck to scaling increasingly smarter AI systems isn't money, it's cutting-edge chips. But here's the catch: NVIDIA doesn't actually manufacture those chips. That job falls to Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. They've been working together since 1998, which shows just how long the two companies have relied on each other. TSMC depends on equipment produced by America and its allies, putting it within the US sphere of influence. Taiwan and China have been geopolitical adversaries ever since the Chinese Civil War between the PRC and the ROC ended in 1949, with the ROC retreating from mainland China to the island of Taiwan. So since 2022, the US has banned companies, like NVIDIA, from selling top-tier chips to China. This left China with almost no good options to obtain the best chips. Crazily enough, roughly 20% of all of China's chips come in from smuggling. You could get paid $1 million per suitcase of GPUs you bring into the country. But the rabbit hole keeps going. The same ban has also torpedoed China's own chip-making industry. Before 2022, all the best Chinese-made chips were made using special silicon chips called wafers, made by TSMC. Without access to those, Chinese chipmakers have scrambled to come up with replacements. China's best domestic chip manufacturer, SMIC, lags a few years behind TSMC. This leads to a massive difference. The researchers estimated that the United States had 75% of the world's supply of the advanced chips needed for AI development. with China having 15% and the rest of the world combined having 10%. Google alone has probably 15% of all the world's compute, while DeepSeek has maybe 1%. This is a huge deal. The US has 5 times the compute as China, so claims that America is losing the AI arms race feels strikingly similar to what US military contractors were saying about the Soviet Union during the Cold War to get larger defense contracts. In fact, while tech billionaires like Mark Andreessen claimed that DeepSeek was a Sputnik moment, showing that China was actually ahead of the US, DeepSeek's own CEO accidentally revealed last year just how much the chip ban had hurt them.
Mid last year, the CEO of DeepSeek, they were working in total obscurity. And what he says is, he's like, yeah, so honestly, like, we're really excited and like doing this AGI push or whatever. And like, honestly, like, money's not the problem for us. Talent's not the problem for us, but like access to compute, like these export controls, man, that's a real problem for us. Oh boy.
Nothing can stop us on the path to AGI except access to compute. He who controls the chips controls the future of AI. So when it comes to the first pillar of AI development, compute, the US is winning by far. But there are 2 more major potential bottlenecks that could actually tell us if we're in an AI arms race. Because it doesn't just take advanced chips to train smarter AI models. You also need energy. China has surpassed the US in energy, but that power means nothing if China doesn't have the AI chips they need. And the US has enough potential energy sources that it could unlock that energy won't become a bottleneck for AI. Besides the new solar installations and revived nuclear reactors, for the last decade, US gas power plants have only been running at around half of their total capacity, meaning that the US can grow energy production even without building new plants. Energy, while critical, won't be the bottleneck that slows the US down enough for China to catch up. Okay, so what about people? China has 4 times as many people as the US and twice as many STEM PhDs, but the US gets to draw in the sharpest minds from the rest of the world. Take OpenAI founder Ilya Sutskever, who was born in Russia, or Google DeepMind founder Demis Hassabis, who was born in London. The talent battle isn't USA versus China, it's China versus the rest of the world. But even if China had more talent, it wouldn't matter. Because the specific goals of the AI companies is to create an intelligence explosion scenario by having AIs themselves do AI research. This would increase the total amount of talent on both sides by 10 or 100 times. NVIDIA's CEO thinks that the company will have 100 million AI workers in the next few years.
AIs will recruit other AIs to solve problems.
Right.
AIs will be in, Slack channels with each other.
As AI workers increasingly contribute to research and to algorithmic advances, talent ceases to become a bottleneck. The only remaining bottleneck is compute, and there the US is already crushing China, with the US having 5 times as much compute. And the US would pull even further ahead after closing the few remaining loopholes that China has been using to circumvent the chip ban. So if the US already controls the chips, the talent, and has the energy it needs, why the panic? Why are senators pounding the table warning that we can't afford to lose the AI race? It's simple. Big tech is pouring millions into lobbying Congress to spread the narrative that China is sprinting ahead and that even the tiniest amount of regulation would hand China the race. But in reality, China's AI industry is the most regulated in the entire world. In fact, even Xi Jinping himself says he doesn't want an AI arms race, saying that China should abandon uninhibited growth that comes at the cost of sacrificing safety. Let that sink in. So if the idea of an AI race is so unpopular, both in the Chinese leadership and among the American public, who are the people arguing that we need a race to beat China? Andreessen Horowitz, or A16Z, is a venture capital firm with $42 billion in assets and is deeply invested in AI. Shockingly, they don't want regulation on AI, and what better way to sell American lawmakers on the need to go fast than convincing everyone that the US is in a new global arms race? Andreessen Horowitz is a backer of the American Innovators Network, which has plans to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on opposing a New York State AI safety bill. The opposition is spreading outright lies, like the bill would kill all of New York's AI startups, when in reality the regulation would only apply to big tech companies spending over $100 million on training frontier models. This is the classic playbook. But who else is trying to sell US lawmakers on the idea of an AI race, the tech company CEOs themselves. The biggest fearmonger in the space is Zuckerberg. The playbook is simple. Big Tobacco used it to cast doubt that smoking was actually bad for you. Big Oil uses the same playbook to cast doubt on climate change. There's a fantastic book on the topic called Merchants of Doubt that I highly recommend. Except in AI, it's more like they are merchants of fear. For example, Zuckerberg has pumped at least $40 million, that we know of, into a front group called American Edge. American Edge spent millions of dollars blasting out Facebook ads to millions of people, declaring that banning states from regulating AI will protect American innovation and jobs. But these AI companies' explicit goal is to use AI to replace all human labor, which, yeah, might have an effect on jobs. Yeah, okay, big shocker that this is what Zuckerberg is up to, but it's not just him.
We must continue to run faster. This is a race.
That woman is Lisa Su, AMD's CEO, NVIDIA's biggest competitor at selling AI chips. Right next to her is OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, who wants Congress to ensure that AI has very loose and permissive regulations. Sam Altman claims to support regulating AI because of how dangerous future models might be. But unsurprisingly, like most industry monopolists, whenever journalists or senators ask him what specific regulation he would like, he dodges the question. And an extremely light touch AI safety bill was passed in both chambers in California with an overwhelming majority of support from civil society, but vetoed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Big AI companies heavily lobbied against the bill. And who does Newsom have deep donor ties to? You guessed it. And the stakes here aren't just escalation toward World War III, but potentially much worse. These companies and VCs have the explicit goal of creating artificial superintelligence, an AI system that could outperform humans at everything. But according to the godfathers of AI, and the company CEOs themselves, if we create this superintelligence as quickly as possible, without spending the time to make sure it's safe, the results could be literal human extinction.
And the bad case, and I think this is important to say, is lights out for all of us.
And the risk of this is frighteningly high. Geoffrey Hinton, who's a Nobel laureate, thinks that the odds of humanity going extinct is a coin flip.
We have to face the possibility that unless we do something soon, we're near the end.
Even the CEO of Google himself said that the odds of extinction from AI are actually pretty high. Sit with that for a moment. He told Lex Fridman he's an optimist because he thinks humanity will rally to prevent catastrophe. In other words, that humanity will rally to stop him from building the thing he is building. This timeline is wild. Okay, but there may be a solution to all this madness. The head of DeepMind believes that this is a problem that nations can't solve by competing, but by cooperating. In the same way that we have CERN, he believes that we need a CERN for AGI. Right now, the US is by far the leader in AI, and could use that leverage over China to negotiate a bilateral treaty regulating AI development. And instead of creating fake AI arms races, humanity could actually work together. Hey, I'm Drew. If you want to see a concrete, deeply researched scenario of how actually AI could take over, written by AI researchers, watch this video next. Thanks for watching. This video took a long time to make, and I appreciate all your support.